A new executive order will temporarily ban new visas for foreign workers throughout the end of the year. The Trump administration says it is to preserve American jobs during the pandemic. Some companies are pushing back. Elwin Lopez explains what this means for Atlanta and who's affected.
Atlanta is the top 10 city in the United States for immigrants and legal immigrants coming here, both for those investing and those working in our city.
Through the end of the year, hundreds of thousands of foreigners will not be able to come to the United States. It comes as the Trump administration announces a temporary suspension of certain work visas, such as the H-1B visa. The order also extended restrictions for certain family members of U.S. citizens wanting to come to the U.S.
That means individuals that companies have sponsored from abroad to come work here after proving there are no U.S. workers available, and barring individuals who are the parents, adult children, or siblings of U.S. citizens.
So who does this affect the most? Workers in the tech and software industries, high-level executives transferring within their companies to the U.S., as well as their family members.
Thousands of companies have done this for thousands of workers, and those people are now barred from coming to the U.S., and they've been waiting, many of them, for 2 to 5 years.
Also affected are parents, adult children, and siblings of U.S. citizens. Childcare providers such as au pairs are also on that list, along with teachers and camp counselors. Those exempted, spouses and minor children of U.S. citizens, as well as visa holders who were already here. Temporary agricultural workers and healthcare workers on the front lines of the pandemic are also in the clear. Some major tech companies have already come out saying that they are opposed to the freeze in these immigration visas, arguing that foreign workers are essential during this time. Now we have this story in both English and in Spanish on 11alive.com.